Welcome back, everyone. In this video, we're going to take a deep dive into the studio and the new workflow, the new features, and the new look. Everything new about the new studio. So first, let's navigate to it. And now that you are in the studio, you will be on the selection page where you can browse the different graphic overlays that we have in our catalog. Up here are the different category tabs. So this is stroke cards, scorecards, whole previews, scoreboards. And then within each category, you have themed groups of template styles. So right now, all of the themes are just the modern theme, but we plan on adding more down the line. So while you're on the selection page, you can look through all of the templates that we have to offer and pick the ones that you want to customize and use in your video. So for this example, we are going to select one from every category, but you don't have to if you don't want to. You're also able to select more than one in each category, and it'll just let you style however you want, and it'll add it to the downloads. So you can see however many templates you have selected will pop up here, and then down here you'll get a quick little preview where your like batch starts to accumulate, and then you can click the little X up there to remove one, or you can click on it to navigate to that part of the selection page. So now that we've got our 4 templates for this example, we can move on to the design page. And what you'll notice is that your selected templates are up here at the top. And the selected one is the one that fills in the main workspace, the main preview window right here. To switch, you just simply click between to set the active template. You'll see a project name right here. We're actually not gonna enter that right now because something will come up later where it'll prompt us to name this project. So leaving that blank for now. On the left is the color panel where you can customize the colors of the active template. A great addition to this new makeover is the fact that we have way more color options than before. The first version had only a primary, secondary, background, and text. But on this makeover, we've got a lot more options. And this opacity slider will control different parts of different templates. It's kind of like unique to each of the designs. But on this one, it's this lower section right here. And that'll just determine how see-through it is when you overlay it onto your video. And then you can click this button right here to reset colors and opacity to default. And then we can move over here to the input panel. Up at the top, you can choose and upload a picture to have as your logo inside the template. So I'm just going to go ahead and make it that electrified green logo that you see as my account profile picture. And you'll see it says the name of the file right there, and then the little logo. And again, it's template specific. The templates are going to have different ways the logos portray, the different sizes, and everything like that. And then on the inputs panel, you can toggle this on to see some of the player inputs, but as a pro user, you don't necessarily have to mess around with these. You can do it for styling purposes, which is a bit more applicable to the scorecards and the scoreboards. But as far as stroke cards go, you don't really have to do anything in the templates section. And then just like the color panels, this will reset all of them to default. So that is the stroke card that we have selected, and now we've got the colors picked, we can go ahead and move on to the scorecard. And like I mentioned, we have a lot more color flexibility in this new version. We tried to make the default colors, aesthetic on their own, but obviously the point is to customize them to your channel or the theme of your video or whatever you want. Down the line, we do plan on adding a way to save color palettes so that you can load them in, but we haven't set that up yet. So for now, the recommendation is to just have your color palette saved or look one up so that you can use the dropper to pick the colors that you like and want to reuse. And the template that you have selected is going to affect all of the colors that are available. Some designs have a lot like this one, others only have 4, maybe even 3. So this is fine for this example. Now we can move to the inputs panel, and this is where a lot of things differ with the scorecard category. So we can toggle that on to open it up. And pro users, again, they don't have to actually enter the data here because they will enter that down in the scorecard. They'll enter it once and it'll just do and generate all of them for them. So they don't have to really worry about this. But what they do want to look at is the row labels toggle and the show totals toggle. So that'll affect the way your scorecards are downloaded and generated. So if you want these category labels, then you want to make sure that you toggle that on. If you want the totals at the end over here, you also want to make sure you total that on. And then with this on, you have the ability to turn them off, fully customizable. And then this score cell right here, it can either be versus par or strokes. So I like it as versus par. That's what makes sense to me, but you can have it however you like. And for the pro user, that's done. That's all you have to do. You can move on to the whole previews. I happen to really like the color scheme of this one, so I'm not even going to touch it. And you'll see over here that the pro user doesn't have to input anything either because it's pretty basic, just whole number, distance, and par. This is a good chance to highlight the distance unit. So whatever you select here is how it will portray, and that can be template specific, yards and meters. Just know that if your distance units are different, you'll have to make 2 passes with generation using the different distance numbers because obviously yards and meters are not the same. So you'll have to make a second batch. So we'll switch this back to freedom units and head over to the scoreboard. And once again, this one has lots of color options. And like scorecards, you can toggle some things on and off, affect the way it looks. You can even give it a custom title and a custom label. And yeah, as a pro user, your templates are now totally styled. You don't have to input the data one at a time. You can scroll down and select your scoring method, stroke play or match play. That will affect the way your scores are calculated, which affects the entire generation. So like instead of calculating against par like E or +1 or +2, it calculates against the player. That's what scoring method is. So that affects a lot. Make sure you have this on the correct mode. The default is stroke play. And there's an indicator up here if you happen to have another scoring method selected. So we'll stick with stroke play, and then we'll enter in some dummy data here for you. Joe is a very consistent golfer. All right, so I've gone ahead and entered these values in. Now I've picked some examples to highlight how this works a little bit. And I've purposely left this one blank because on the templates that have a distance, well, if you leave it out, then it'll just get rid of it. So it won't have the hashtag yards there. It'll just totally be blank. And we'll make sure to check that out when we download. So as pro users, you might be thinking, well, this only has 3 holes. What if I have 9 holes of data in here? And my answer to that is you're just getting enough here to know what it's going to look like, the general idea. If you come to the inputs panel, just as an example, I can show you that each row will add its own. So if you have 9 holes of data, then it'll be 9 holes long, and it will go through and put your scores down as you go. Same kind of behavior with the scoreboards and the players. Pro users don't have to do this, but I'll show you as an example. Each player gets its own row, and in this template style, it just so happens that each player row alternates colors, and the generator will calculate on its own who's in first all the way down to last. The free user, they have to do all that. All the pro user has to do is just enter the data right here, and it'll totally take care of all of that. All right, so now that we've got all of this data in, let's go ahead and click generate. And like I mentioned before, the project name, since we didn't give it a name initially, we can give it one now. Let's just name it test and generate. Whoop. It's a lot faster than the old one too. It'll go to your downloads. It'll say done. It'll tell you how many it made. So that's 169. As a pro user, think about how much time you just saved not having to type all that in. And then you can go to your downloads. It'll be a zip file. You can just open that. I recommend looking at it like this view just because it's a lot easier to see everything all in play. So let's look at our whole previews. We had the steps template selected and we played 9 holes. So there are 9 holes worth of data, and we can open that and we just see that on hole 6, it is a par 4 at 223 yards. Hole 7 is a par 5, 434 yards, and so on. It's all there. And same thing for scoreboards. We had the standard scoreboard selected, and there's a starting scoreboard and one after every hole. So we've got 0 all the way to 9, and we can see what the final product was. Kyle was plus 12, and Joe and Jane ended up being even. On hole 3, we've got Jane at 1 under, Joe and Kyle are even. Kyle is about to he's still having a good day at this point, but his day is about to get ruined. All right, and that's scoreboards. Let's go down to scorecards. We had the classic templates selected, and the way classic is generated is player specific. Down the line, we'll have multiple players on scorecards, but that's not how this classic template that we had selected works. So each player gets their own scorecard. We can open up Jane, Joe, and Kyle to see all of their 9 holes. Let's just take a look at 7 for Jane. So you'll see that that one was empty. And all of the distances at hole 7, she's got a birdie because it's a par 5. She's 2 under through 7. Let's look at Joe on hole 8. Joe is even through 8. And let's look at Kyle on hole 5. So yep, those are all there. We can go ahead and close that. And then let's look at the stroke cards. We had orbs selected, and this is organized by hole because when you're editing your videos, you know, it kind of makes sense to go hole by hole. The point of this structure is to help make it easy to know where the template that you're looking for so that you can quickly grab it and drag it into your timeline to edit your video quicker. So we open orbs, hole 1, and let's also look at hole 7. Jane had 4 strokes, and you can see that on the 4th stroke it was 4 par, hole 1, and this is that distance. Remember, we didn't put that distance, so that was the one that I was talking about where it'll automatically remove itself. And there, that's the custom logo that we added, and the score is even because it's hole 1. Let's look at Joe for this one. Joe also got a par, so let's find somebody else. All right, let's look at Kyle. So here's his 5th stroke. Actually, let's look at his 1st stroke. So this template design, it'll show par as the number of bubbles at the beginning, and then it will work through the 1st stroke, 2nd stroke, and 3rd stroke, 4th stroke. But then once you start getting over 5th stroke for par, it'll just start adding the strokes as you go on. And this is for bogey. He makes hole 7 for bogey. So yeah, all of these are exactly the way you customize them, and they have exactly the data that you input, and it only takes maybe 5 minutes to get all of these down. And then you can quickly add them, drag them, and drop them into your video editor, whichever one you use, and make your golf videos look really nice. Now let's say you're a free user. Free users don't have access to the Pro Features panel, so everything they will do will be input manually up here in the Inputs panel. The bubbles work the same, 3, 4, 5. If you happen to have a par 6, that's how that works. And then current shot, we'll just highlight whatever bubble, and if you go above the par, it'll just go to that one, make that one the last. And then the free user also has to toggle the birdie tag on and type in whatever they want. And then once they've got it all the way they like it, they can just download. It'll give you the player's name, the hole, what shot, the category of the template, and the template name itself. And then you can just download that, knock those out one at a time. So yeah, the free users, it's a little bit slower for them. It's a lot nicer to have this generator for you. And actually this orbs template at the moment is not available to free users. Free users only have access to the templates that you see here, the pro ones being the ones locked behind the gold star. Here's the scorecards, hole previews, and scoreboards. So free users have at least one of every category. But yeah, Pro is really nice because it gives you access to the generator, match play, and gives you access to more template selection. So if you're curious, you can visit our pricing page and take advantage of the launch sale, half off. Totally up to you though. So this has been an in-depth guide to the studio, how to navigate and use it, the proper workflow, and the differences between the free workflow and the intended pro workflow. I hope that this was informative. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to leave a comment or contact us about anything that you are confused about, or maybe you have a good idea and you want to share that with us. We're always looking forward to hearing from you. So thank you so much and have a good one.